Halfway through the final week of the LPL Spring for 2019, and we return with an absolute banger. A team that has found its footing here in the LPL and is on the verge of securing first place for Spring. Not only is it not IG or RNG, the unusual suspects in FPX, as we're taking a look at their opponent coming on in Vici Gaming. There have been some highlights, but lowlights of this team in the spring season as they've made their debut, having a look at players like Jay, Chelizi, Puff, Southwind into this roster, and it is a new dawn for Vici Gaming in the spring season. But for FPX, this is where their time to shine has already come through. It's the time to put the nail in the coffin, Doinb, as he's munching away, thinking about how he's going to do it today. There's been a lot of focus on this mid laner, but we're going to take a new direction today. People like LWX and Crisp, great in the bottom lane, but I wanted to have a closer look at Tian in the jungle, but I guess not this time. Welcome back to the LPL. My name's XLwx. Take a look at this man right here in Jimmy Preacher Fu as we run into the midpoint of the week, Preacher, on the final week of the LPL.
And it's exciting because even though we've locked in playoffs for both of these two matches that we have going ahead, we're still playing for seeding right now, and everybody wants to get as high as they possibly can to reduce the number of games they need to play in playoffs.
They definitely do, but before we go further into the development of playoffs and give you a bit of an explanation, we didn't do Best of the Rift on Monday, Preacher. We're going to do it today. It's a Wednesday and a good final Best of the Rift here on Week 10. We start with, that's a familiar face. Let's start with the Shy, Preacher.
Yeah, what can we say about the Shy? Oh, we got paragraphs of it because he has been putting up MVP plays all around. I mean, remember back to when he played against RNG. His Silas was amazing, especially in the 2v2. I remember, you remember it.
And somehow won a 1v1 as a Vladimir against Arise, so I definitely won't forget that. Xiaopeng, although, is still fighting for playoffs, but I love this because this jungler has been improving every week.
Biggest standout in our graphic today, it does mean that Xiaopeng has been putting up a lot of effort in the last week due to his Lee Sin play, especially against RNG. Played it twice in both of their victories, and you can see that's exactly why he's standing first in damage per minute.
He's a new name, an old name in Xie there. Not a big surprise that WE, with their recent performance, bring their mid laner into Best of the Rift.
And don't forget, with Xie, it's always about the Corki, it's always about the Galio. He can play whatever style you need for your team, and he can do both styles very fine.
He's been having a very good split alongside Mystic, and although it's not Mystic there in the AD carry, iBoy and Mako, the duo, what a good recovery of a split for EDG. And I have to say, through iBoy and Mako, it looks like they are part of the carrying force.
Great way to round out this day, because obviously when you take a look at both of the two bot lanes of EDG, not making a whole lot of good efforts in the previous parts of the split. However, coming into fine form, maybe it's because Clearlaw's back on the map, or maybe not. They're making good decisions.
I love how Mako as well has one gank a game as a support. That's to the level of Crisp, by the way. So it's absolutely fantastic to see that Mako is recovering, like we said, EDG in a good position, having secured playoffs, but we'll talk about that in a little bit, because yesterday you would have missed the Chinese games, and yesterday you missed some doozies, because I don't know how JDG and RNG dropped these, but let me just say, it was a good watch.
And in the very first one, IG being taken down by BLG, that was very unexpected coming in, because we thought that IG was making their run towards the top place, but BLG putting a huge hamper into that.
I saw BLG come into their form in that Game 3. And I saw the BLG that is making the run to playoffs. JDG, remember as well, that loss, they still haven't secured their playoff position. But because of LGD and BLG taking down their opponents, EDG and RNG are secure in playoffs. That means we have 5 out of the possible 8 positions now secure heading towards that next week.
And not only do they help those other teams, Hysterics, but they also help themselves, because when we take a look at the standings, we will know a little bit better about the shape of our current league and who is still to get locked in.
We will, but before then, we have to tell you a little bit more about playoffs. The bracket so far has been interesting, because remember, top 5 are locked in. FPX, IG, TOP, EDG, and RNG now are all locked in, not to their respectable positions, but into the playoffs. 3 spots left remaining there, Preacher.
Have to take off from your point that they are not locked into their positions. That is one of the reasons why we are watching today, and also why we will keep on fighting until the very end, because everybody wants a top place, and so far FPX are in best form to do it so far today.
Of course, but let's look at the lower part as well, because Sino Dragon, WE, and BLG are still in the hunt. I love that. BLG are definitely in the hunt, and they're head-to-head with Sino Dragon. Will it come into effect is a bigger question, but teams like WE and JDG, more of a chance there with WE having more games, and JDG having the 9 wins to look for their 10th and final in the game to secure playoffs themselves. It's a close race, but JDG and WE might have that leg advantage.
Those are the 2 things that we need to watch out for. So while there are 4 teams playing for 3 places in playoffs, I know one person has to get eliminated. JDG, because they have 1 victory over the other ones, they are standing in a good place. And like you mentioned, WE with 2 games instead of 1. If you take a look at that in our standings right now, it also means that they can come up really, really massive. It's going to be a fight between Sino Dragon Gaming and also Bilibili Gaming, which is a little bit rough, because for BLG, they need to win 2-0. If they don't, then SDG, if they pull up a victory, could definitely upset BLG.
To explain that a little bit further for you out there before we do move on with the rest of the day, SDG, a 2-0, a 2-1 when BLG get a 2-1. If it is even in match score with both of their series, Sino Dragon will progress. But if Sino Dragon drop 1 game and BLG go through on 2-0, they will take the spot instead of SDG, and that would be momentous considering that SDG, this is their debut split. But Preacher, we got to progress forward, because in the standings, like you said before, FPX is sitting on top of the world. And today's matchup is going to keep them on top of the world. If FPX can beat Vici Gaming in this first series, they will secure first.
And that is 100% lock-in if they do manage to win this. So it definitely does hinge on FPX to do that. But in our second series, we also have OMG and RNG. RNG are fighting for 4th place, and they need this victory to do so.
Yeah, remember RNG, the highest they can secure is 4th there. But for RNG, fifth, excuse me, I believe is what they can hold with today's matchups. But the other 3 teams, apart from JDG, WE, BLG, Sino Dragon, if RNG win today, then that means WE, Sino Dragon, and BLG, depending on what happens in that bottom level there, they will not be able to reach higher than that. So RNG in a very good position here to take away and keep themselves in that momentum bit of position there.
It's all about running away from the pack. And when we're talking about the pack, it is really up to these teams. We were talking about the 4 running for the 3 position. You need about 10 wins to really lock it in. And at this point, Sino Dragons and Bilibili, they can only really get 9. So that is the fight that they are in their lives.
Was just confirming here as well. Secure top 5 with this win today. So that's the series coming up later against OMG. Remember, we have to start with FPX and Vici Gaming. And what a split for FPX. I mean, I came into this split. I think you had a bit of confidence. In week 1, I talked to you and you said, FPX are going to win this split.
Well, hold on a minute. I didn't say that they were going to win it.
Take the compliment. Take the honor.
I thought that they were going to go very high because I believed in the Doinb effect. Okay. I didn't know that they were going to be in first place.
Win the regular season.
Yes.
Yes. And that's what a win is, sitting in first.
Of course.
Not the split itself.
No, of course. However, yeah, it's been more than just the Doinb effect because he's led the rest of his team to victory as well. And when we talk about him, it's pretty much just like a one-trick pony that no other team in the league has really been able to upset. It's Tian and Doinb getting ahead in the early game, and then Doinb overflowing to the rest of the map to get everybody else ahead.
I love the way you put it there. Doinb overflowing to the rest of FPX, and that's exactly what he does. And that's why I want to take a very conscientious look at GimGoon in the top lane. No series have we really come through and said, okay, yeah, this might be about GimGoon, but he has the backing here of FPX to support him, and he's been doing very well in his own right.
Very important number to see. Ganks from mid lane, 17, which is the second highest in the league. Whenever Doinb does well, he always transitions it to the top lane. GimGoon has been playing massively so far on champions like Gangplank and Kennen in his recent series against BLG, and also known for his Renekton and Irelia especially in their game against Sino Dragons.
Absolutely.
He looked like a person who could play from a carry position without the resources of a jungle gank. And why is that? It's because Doinb always helped him.
Doinb goes bottom, Doinb goes top. Now, of course, with the bottom lane, he does visit there quite a bit too, but more so, surprisingly, to the top side of the map. And this is a testament, this play itself, as to how the rest of the map can come around and GimGoon can facilitate.
Setting this one up for GimGoon as well. Doinb's always shepherding people towards the top lane, making sure that he gets to the position as well. And take a look at the way that he actually moves forward to corral everybody into a choke position. GimGoon flashes over the wall with the ulti. That's just the follow-up needed to join the rest of his team. It's beyond that as well, because when you leave him alone without any jungle attention, you might think, oh no, this guy's going to get dove, he's going to die in a 2v1 situation. Nah, he manages to just walk out so safely. Take a look at this. He knows he doesn't need to turn back. Very smart mathematics to calculate the minion damage.
It was such a cool outplay, just outstepping Meteor underneath the turret there as well. So for GimGoon, you know, there are a lot of champions to highlight him. Doinb has 15 champions played in the mid lane, or 14 rather. GimGoon has 15 champions played top. That is an insane amount. That is up to level with Zoom.
Put him on whatever you want. Recently, he's been doing so well in carries, and I think in part that's because the league has been transitioning to carry top laners as well. But even back in the old days, Urgot, Sion, Poppy, he's been doing so well in those as well, especially with the lack of resources from his jungle. So I expect to see him dominate the lane pretty much by himself.
Yeah, really for FPX as well, facilitating the rest. Doinb and Tian we talked about before, how the 2v2 interaction helps Doinb, and then Doinb helps the world. And Doinb right now is really helping the world. Let's take a look. First at Vici Gaming and competitors. Chelizi top lane, Ike's, Jay, Puff and Southwind still trying to find a threshold here to compete for summer.
And we were talking about the bottom lane of FPX coming into this. However, Vici Gaming, their biggest success is the bot lane, so watch out for Puff and Southwind especially.
I wouldn't be too surprised if Vici Gaming once again put them on the carry potential. Preacher, FPX.
Of course, GimGoon in the top lane, we're just talking about him. Tian and Doinb, the Mystic duo in the middle lane, and also LWS and Crisp, very outdated, well, I wouldn't say outdated, but very old and formidable bot lane.
Outdated.
I did not say that. Do not quote me.
It's okay. I like that though, because although they are definitely not outdated, they're just such a stable bottom lane. LWX and Crisp have been in the LPL for so darn long. Like, this is...
Also as a duo.
Yeah, as a duo. One of the longest standing duos in the world in a Premier League. So I think Raz decided it was either the first or the second. So Raz going to have to quote me and fix me up there. But still with FPX, bottom lane is stable. The mid 2v2 is looking so darn good. We expect those top dives from Doinb up towards GimGoon. But even let's transition back to the bottom lane, because the bottom lane dives that we've seen in the past couple of series have been intense.
And there were either the level 3 or the level 5 ganks into the bottom lane. It's very early roams coming out from this team, especially for LWS, who's very recently has picked up Kalista 6 out of his last 7 games. If you can give that guy some early game, then he will run away with it.
Which is so interesting, because his favorite champion was Kai'Sa, and they used to joke about it, as I said in the last broadcast, that he was a one-trick Kai'Sa. See if he gets his hand on it once again, because FPX, their fight for first starts with Vici Gaming, and of course with their last matchup against V5, it could end there. But this is the first roadblock, and running into Vici Gaming on blue side to start off game 1, you can see already making sure the Rek'Sai is not giving over to Ike's.
And this is very important, because when we talk about LWS and Crisp, we also have to talk about Puff and Southwind. Looking over at the other side, their limited victories against LGD and SDG, Puff played Varus, Ashe, Kai'Sa, and Ezreal.
Okay.
Now on the 9.3 patch, of course Infinity Edge was buffed, so the fact that Puff hasn't been quick enough to adapt to it could prove one of the detrimental points, especially since Vici want to carry through that lane.
See what he picks up as well. Xayah Rakan being a big one there for the bottom lane of Vici Gaming, but Sylas even bigger. First pick in the LPL, as Sylas has been re-enabled, has always gone towards this Sylas if left open on blue side.
And it's just such an important pickup, combined between stealing your opponent's ultimates and also the huge sustain in lane. It means that you can never really get pushed out if you play it safe, and even if you get pushed to your turret, you can always call your jungle in for some good ganks. Wow!
First pick red side.
That
you know
is
what?
bold.
You know what? Galio's not open. We don't have a Lissandra, LeBlanc. Look what's banned away. What do you take into it? Because Sylas has been played top most of the time, Preacher.
I mean, I would have said something like a Jarvan to lock in the jungle.
Yeah,
however, right?
probably.
You just go straight for the Riven. It means that even if you steal the ulti from Riven, all you get is AD because you can't activate any of the other abilities. I'm looking forward to seeing this one, because Riven is definitely a good counterpick into Sylas.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll see. Remember again that the Sylas can be flexed to the mid lane that we've seen a couple of times here. Clement likes it. I know Raz does not, and I just let them fight it out amongst themselves. Right. But into the Riven, you're right. The ultimate not going to do too much, so that is a great counterpoint. For Vici Gaming now, do we build around this Sylas? Do we just take that Jarvan that Tian left up?
It definitely is available for them, and I would be a little upset to see it not go towards the side of Vici.
Man,
so yeah,
close one.
Oh, he nearly locked it in. But Swapped it straight over to the Jarvan. Yeah, it's pretty much to be expected. And right now, we've got to see whether this Sylas is actually in the top lane or in the mid lane, like we were talking about. It looks like it's going to be a bit too difficult if you don't actually pick up your other solo laner in the first rotation, because FPX will always be able to counter it with their last pick. So better to do it now than later.
Ooh, but I do like this. If you steal away LWX from the Kai'Sa, maybe not. If Gragas gets locked in here,
all right.
An early, most likely support could also be flexed to the top side as well. But Tian straight into the Elise. The final series, not even the final series for Vici Gaming or FPX, but the final matchup on week 10, looking pretty good.
It's very bold coming out from both of these two teams. They're going no holds barred, and they're not even using their pocket picks as counter picks necessarily, because we don't know where the Sylas is going. But speaking about the Elise, the early game and also the re-engage potential coming out of it is massive into both the Gragas and also the Jarvan, because if either of them jump in, wrong time, doesn't get the correct knock-up properly, all of a sudden Elise locks you up and then your team can re-engage on.
Very true. We've seen some misengages from the Gragas Jarvan earlier in the split as well, so I love that you bring that up, because Vici Gaming, their execution has been mistimed. So, in this series, looking to recover from what we expected out of them earlier in the split. FPX make sure that they're not going to give them a part of that execution with the Kalista, and the Gangplank from GimGoon has just been taken away in case. Oh yeah, hang on, Preacher, I forgot. Doinb's on this team.
Oh boy.
Riven can be played top and only top in any other team except FPX. Just remember that.
Don't forget, we've also seen limited Riven jungles as well, but I doubt that that's going to happen.
Well,
yeah,
hang on.
Look, I could definitely see it going into the mid lane. It does, once again, just depend on Vici, because you said that the Sylas could go into the mid lane, could be a double flex to make sure that she always gets a favorable lane matchup. But apart from that, right now, I'm really surprised that there's a Kalista ban out from FPX, because it's LWX's champion for the past couple of series.
True, but Vici Gaming still don't have the AD carry. Looks like FPX want to pick something else. There is their first pick, red side. Kennen was the ban, and of course that targeting towards Chelizi, who had a couple of great games on it. Vladimir follows here from Vici Gaming, so I love that you brought up before the Riven jungle, because yes, this is a triple flex for FPX, and in their drafts, they play around these double and now maybe apparently triple flex in their pick and ban.
And you can never talk about FPX without talking about their early game, so putting Riven in the jungle definitely can help that. But apart from that, I think that it's really up to Vici Gaming to see what exact champ that they give to Puff, because Ezreal is open and so is Varus. If he strays away from either of those two champs, it means he's adapting to crit meta.
Definitely does. Let's see what happens. Preacher, of course, a lot of people out there saying, you know, why would you be talking about Riven jungle when there's Elise? Don't forget, you know, Lahen's first brought this out on Griffin ages ago, it's not above and beyond, but I see the time, Kench, I'm going to reiterate again. FPX is so incredibly crazy that we'll just go back to stock standard. Look at Vici first and then talk about it, because Kai'Sa has been locked in, and versus the Ashe, we'll see how that goes.
A good champion for Puff specifically, because on one of his victories against Sino Dragons, he did pick up the Kai'Sa. So going into Ashe is going to be a more or less neutral lane, because Kai'Sa doesn't necessarily get bullied out all that much unless Ashe can get the priority with the volley as well. So it will be up to FPX to see how far they can get Doinb ahead to rotate him down into the bottom lane.
Now that my brain cells are back in, so we've got the bottom lane, we've got the jungle, and we don't know where that Riven's going right now, expecting a mid or a top laner here for FPX, and it will look to be the top or mid. Not too sure, because we've established where everything else is going after me having a bit of an epiphany, apparently. Poppy. Oh, just do it. Why not? Here we go. All right, Preacher.
All right.
I'm glad I pointed this out, because now I'm saying, is it Riven mid or Poppy mid? And you have to say, it looks like a Riven mid.
Definitely does, Hysterics. And more to the point, it means that FPX have to play very early game and make sure that in the mid game they take 1 or 2 at the most team fights, because if they go towards late, they have no magic damage. The only one available is Tian, and he's going to be falling off like a truck. So obviously it has to be Vici Gaming with the scaling, and FPX have to get the snowball.
Well, Vici Gaming, the Sylas into the mid lane. We've seen this once or twice here in the LPL, but we have not seen it into a Riven. Doinb that is locked in. The Poppy would have surprised me even more at this point. And now that we know Riven versus Sylas, this is just going to be the outskill, outplay, who can dodge faster away.
So I have to say that as far as the counter picks go, remember back to the OMG series where there was actually, Icon actually picked a Vayne into Sylas as well. It means that both of these two ultimates are going to be very similar, simply giving AD. Sylas doesn't scale with AD, so it doesn't really help him all that much. For the lane at the very least, Sylas is going to have a lot of problems. Expect some roams coming out from Vici.
And remember as well that for the Sylas running into the Riven, that the gap close is a one-off. Abscond, abduct, one move, cooldown. Riven, Q, E, you walk into it, you're stunned, you take some damage. So that's, you know, that's the bronze level mastery of looking at it. But for Doinb as well, what this shows me is that there is wave clear there. There is the potential for him to roam once more. Low cooldowns, of course, on the Riven can be established in this 9.5 meta. And it's his 15th pick in the mid lane. Pulls out Kassadin a week ago. Now Preacher pulls out the Riven. And I just can't wait to get into this game one.
Well, I'm going to have to hamper your expectations because in the early game, Jay might actually come out ahead because of the range.
Okay, I like that, Breachy. Expectations met, but for FPX, this series is putting the bow onto the present. That is FPX's spring. They win this series against Vici Gaming. They secure first over IG, RNG, TOP. Nothing else matters. They'll go straight into the semi-finals.
And you can already hear that the fans have come out in droves for FPX, coming out in first place. And yeah, get out of here, get out. All right, so FPX, with all of their fans, for good reason, because they're standing in first place for so long, only falling down to a little hiccup against TOP, but finally finding their form again. It'll be up to this game to see if they can snowball the early game that pretty much they've been known to do every single time.
A couple of hiccups on the way, but you're right. Still in a very strong standing. Aftershock into the Sylas, no big surprise there. Quintuple inspiration tree for Vici Gaming. It's always fun to note. There is only one sorcery that's on the side of Tian. Everyone else has inspiration. I love the meta at the moment, 9.5.
Money's too good. Money's too good. Making sure that you can get the boots or even just extend your potion timers. That's pretty much the reason for all of these inspiration secondaries. But beyond that, if you take a look at the rest of the keystone, there is a Conqueror on the Poppy. I need to give you a big heads up on that, Hysterics.
Yeah, okay, go for it, man.
Yeah, it just means that GimGoon wants to dominate this lane solo because usually when we talk about Doinb, we said that he's going to visit the top lane. This time, it looks like he's going to be visiting bot lane a whole lot more because of the setup available from LWS and Crisp. So we might have to watch out for GimGoon solo carrying with that Conqueror.
Yeah, we'll have a look at the top lane because we set this up nicely as to how he's going to play this, but Poppy vs. Sion might be a little bit stale for now. However, we just saw the junglers there pathing through river, and it was Ix who was spotted out by a ward. A smartly placed ward by FPX in this early game. And, you know, towards the Riven lane, you're expecting Doinb to, until he gets that, you know, maybe level 6 mark where he can challenge Jay a bit more. They want to play it safe. See what goes into Jay. Yeah, that's too far forward. Runes looking at now, Preacher, in for Doinb. Of course, going to be the Conqueror Riven mid.
It's a very standard one, and I also like the Alacrity pickup because it means that you can cancel your animation so much quicker. These are the trades that haven't been doing too much at the start, but as soon as Doinb gets his either Black Cleaver or whatever else he wants to go for as the first item, he will start hitting like a truck with that Conqueror as well. So I like the fact that he can cancel a whole lot faster.
True, and I'll correct myself as well. The level 3 mark's been hit, which is as a Riven with Ignite mid. That's all you need. Double Ignite mid as well. I just love how into this second last series for Vici Gaming and the first and last time that these teams will face off in the LPL, that we have such volatile mid laners looking to make a statement.
And it's also Jay coming up to make a point in this as well. He's got his Sylas, which is very good on this patch, but he needs to come up massive. He hasn't performed very well for his team in terms of statistics, so if ever there were a time, it has to be into Doinb and to shut this guy down before he, if FPX wants, inevitably gets a hit.
He will be able to move over to this jungle as well if we want to talk up Jay and his potential in this game. Tian has gone for the invade, but so has Ix. Moving over towards the mid lane instead, rather, as Doinb will just walk his way out from Jay. Tian coming to the top side. Remember, we talked about how vocal he can be in the top side of the map. He forces the flash out of Chelizi so darn early.
And watch for a repeat gank as well, because as soon as you burn that is going to happen. However, Tian right now
might be a little bit too late, Preacher. Here comes the flash forward. Cocoon, when does it come out? The flag and drag locked onto Sion, and it's down. Tian now with the zombie Sion has to repel up, but GimGoon is taking too many whoppers at once. runs for his life. GimGoon is out as well, and Ike's just not there in time.
Smart play from Tian. As soon as he gets the kill, he also uses the repel to make sure that he can go the other way, whichever way that Chelizi wasn't going into. So he gets out of that against the zombie Scion.
A really smart move there from Tian. Makes another visit to the top lane. Preacher add 1 to the marks. It's 18 now for Tian and GimGoon. And first blood over to the Poppy means Bammy Cinder as he teleports back to lane.
It's also going to mean that that Conquerors is really going to start doing damage the later this game goes. But I really like the fact that Tian went into the top lane because he adapted his strategy. Instead of the stale, I'll go into mid and help Doinb, he's gone into the top side to invade, even though he's not the fastest jungler in terms of clear. And after he steals away that Gromp, immediately goes into the top lane. It means that he's focusing more for the rest of his team.
Ooh, have a look bot side though. Chris is forced to flash immediately. Puff at half health. Southwind can't follow through, but body slam melee range. LWX taking second skin. Here comes the Cathian Rain, but Puff getting turned on as LWX and Chris bring in the cavalry rather. Vici Gaming's jungler was nearby.
It's also very fast because it's double heal burn from both of these two bot laners. If you take a look, Puff and LWS have both opted for the TP, so doing these early trades, especially seeing as Relic Shield did get nerfed to give you lower HP, unless you are, of course, very, very low, will definitely stick for both of these two champions.
Sustain being hit means teleport from LWX surely will come through. The lane slowly pushing back in. But CS lead quite even as well, especially after that trade. There's teleport in the bottom lane. And surprisingly enough, the game that has a Riven Silas mid, everywhere else is the focus for both of these teams.
Because they don't really want to upset the mid lane. The mid lane is a path to everyone else.
Oh, misses the abduct onto Tian. Jay now in a very bad position. He's level 6. He'll kneel to steal GimGoon's ultimate if he wants to survive, but Doinb's in here as well. Stun doesn't need to land. Doinb slices him across the face.
Yeah, that's why I was really surprised about Jay going into the jungle of FPX. Nobody else was nearby to really facilitate his entry inwards, and even though he found Tian, what were you going to do? Steal an Elise ultimate? You don't do anything with an Elise ultimate, so yeah, that was a bit risky.
I'm a spider now. I really wanted the Poppy ultimate, but unfortunately it wouldn't have made a difference either way. Doinb picking up his first kill, able to push out the lane, and Jay going so deep into the enemy jungle without his jungler nearby. Big no-no it seems like as he starts falling behind in this lane matchup.
Individual choices is really what the name of the game is, and Jay going into the enemy jungle could be the very first one out of many. I mean, Jay is definitely aggressive, we will say that, but he needs to be smart and in the bottom lane.
Again, engage comes through. Ike's just trying to match power with power, but unable to get anything from this Ashe Time, Kench.
Bottom lane not going to prove too effective because, of course, there is a lot of vision down there for FPX, so they can neutralize anything else. But in the jungle,
Vici Gaming, a blue buff, you're joking
4
me.
people.
They'll take it away. That's so Raven, you know, that's so Vici Gaming. They're behind, they look for a blue buff steal, they get it, and that'll be a small win.
Vici Gaming always making the enemy jungle their own home, even if it does cost their life, like we saw a little bit earlier. But it's a standard strategy that they go for. One, it gives an extra blue buff to the rest of your team, and two, it denies it away from Tian, who desperately needs it as an Elise, and they know for certain cannot 1v1 a Jarvan early on. So they're using the early game power spikes, and even though it's not getting them too much gold because they've died, this could be massive.
It really could. Still away the ultimate, the hijack lands in Cheddar Crystal Arrow on the Chris, knocked up, set down. Vici Gaming, their bottom lane, remember the strength there being played to.
Alright, immediately goes into the bottom lane and steals the Ashe ultimate. I like what I see because Ashe ultimate is one of the strongest abilities that you can actually steal as a Sylas.
Yep.
You build AP and it scales off of AP, but it wasn't even used for the damage. It was used for the point blank stun, used it and picked up a kill.
Jake come back to the mid lane, lost a couple of CS, but he was already losing out in this lane, so that's a big win for Vici Gaming through the bottom side that has a 10 CS lead, but Tian is making other responses across the map. Ike's can't steal away the blue buff, and Tian gets one for himself. Remember, level 6 Elise, so it's not going to matter too much, but still Tian putting out a lot of burst.
And it's FPX also playing towards their top lane. We were highlighting GimGoon earlier, right before we got into Champ Select, and the reason why we were doing so is because we knew that he was going to be putting in lots of 1v1 effort, but in mid...
This is a 2v1 though for Aegis. Southwind's coming in as well, doing be slowed on down, absconded, abducted away for Jay.
Let's do a little bit of a rewind and go back to GimGoon that I was talking about in the top lane. Take a look at how much he's actually bullying down Chelizi in this matchup. It's primarily due to the fact that he's actually taking these trades better and also using his Conqueror as much as he possibly can into the tank Scion. What this does mean is that he's always going to have an inside path, and if Chelizi wants to join these fights in their own jungle, all of a sudden FPX can just back off and then Chelizi's lost the whole minion wave.
Yeah, that's right. Already up so much here, Preacher. Look at the Poppy. 25 CS up at 9 minutes on a tank-on-tank matchup. That's why we talk up GimGoon as he once again showcases. Chelizi knocked into the turret, half health, has no more corrupting potions, but Biscuits taken very passively into this Sion versus Poppy matchup will mean he could stay for this next wave if he chooses to.
That's just dirty, watching GimGoon play out this matchup, because there are very defined traits coming out for a Conqueror Poppy. You wait until your passive and your Conqueror is both up, you go into the Scion, and he can't outplay you either because he needs to use his abilities under turret to last hit minions. That is the best place that GimGoon can play, and he knows that because he's so aggressive all the time with his jungle support around that side, that Ix cannot ever gank him to put him down.
I have to change this over to the Doinb show though, because he's playing the Riven game nicely, where you charge up 2 Qs, you know that he has himself the Valor combination with the Broken Wings third proc. And he's playing mind games in the mid lane, still controlling this matchup. You're a Scion ult to the side. Bottom lane for Vici Gaming, still the highlight and hope here in game number 1 at only 10 minutes. FPX, that is almost a 2k gold lead at that 10-minute mark as well.
And I wouldn't even say that the bottom lane of Vici Gaming is even doing that bad. Up in CS, got some assists as well. Unfortunately, the kill went over to Southwind, so that could have been communicated a little bit better. But besides that, the Ignite was definitely needed in order to pick that one up in the bottom lane back when Jay ganked it. So we have to watch out for how Puff uses this advantage and what exactly he builds. He's already got himself the Storm Razor. Will he go towards the eye edge is my biggest question.
Okay, maybe as the third or so item, remember that with the Storm Razor, fleet footwork there picked up by Puff that synergizes so darn well, and a lot of the time that's part of the reason why we see it, but very good first item in the spike to, as Spawn explained it the other week, to get that evolution nice and early on the E so that you can team fight. So still a big CS lead in that bottom lane. Good for the Kai'Sa, as Ike's actually making transitions on the top side. Poppy, yeah!
Oh.
Comes close to Jay. That just means that's a Rift Herald. That's a very good transition from Vici Gaming.
So far, I really like what Ix is doing. One of my biggest criticisms for Vici Gaming is the fact that their solo laners are not mechanically strong enough within the LPL to stand their own, but in the jungle, we see a Dragon. No, this is not going to be too much of a fight. Going back, pretty much my biggest criticism is that their solo laners can't really take it on their own, so they need Ix in order to help them, and Ix hasn't been good enough to help these lanes. But what does he do? He plays the jungle instead of the lanes, and so far it's working out.
Fast improvement as current plating goes down in the mid lane, 12k gold. Southwind finds himself a target in Doinb. As they lock on down, Doinb just scurries out of there, but a bit of turret plating loss, a bit of gold recovered from Vici Gaming as LWX just gets ulted on himself. Vici Gaming have found themselves a nice little pick in the ash. Jay with his first kill, Vici Gaming. Bottom side control continues.
Very strong. You always have to respect the Tahm Kench, and not coming out for Vici Gaming means that they will inevitably forfeit that little bit in the bottom lane. Now we've got to watch out for how Jay plays, because his ultimate's online and he can start using it to steal multiple other people's ultimates. The two key highlights that I have to point out is that, first of all, the Poppy ultimate and the Ashe ultimate are very good coming out for Sylas, and the second one is that you can't really steal Elise's or Riven's.
Never mind, we're not even going to look at ultis because we found one in the top lane. Doinb launches himself into the Blade of Exile. The Wind Slash strikes true, but Chelizi survives. The turret, very different story here as the wave about to crash in for FPX.
Would you even be surprised about that? The fact that Doinb was visiting top lane to get GimGoon ahead. We were talking about it, and he naturally does it. As soon as he gets control of his own lane, he doesn't go under the turret. He overflows it to the other parts of the map.
Well, Jay actually used the Tahm Kench ulti. He turns into Tom. Look at him. I was like, oh, there's Tahm Kench.
And then steals it away down onto the Ashe. You have to respect the fact that Jay can steal all of these ultis. That was my highlight. LWX didn't know that Chris was being stolen, and he just gets collapsed on.
LWX first death of the game. The bottom lane still being punished here as it gets pushed in. That's the 30 CS lead for Vici Gaming as Tian takes away the El Clasico blue buff invade from Ix. This time unsuccessful. And we'll just see, because FPX had the position to engage here. Arrow's not available, but Abyssal Voyage almost is onto Puff and Southwind with Tian down in the bottom side. I remember Chilling Smite and now Runic Echoes. The ability to get this burst off in the 3v2 looks a lot more simple.
Crisp now has the combo that we just saw, so he could potentially be the one to collapse onto the side of Vici Gaming. They definitely need to be playing much safer right now, especially seeing his turret plating has fallen. So unless you're a fireman or you just want a team fight, it's very unlikely that you should even be thinking about shoving down a turret.
Still trying to get the push in as well. You got a 20 CS discrepancy in the mid lane. That's part of the issue now for Vici Gaming. Jay should be able to recover that and should be able to get some of this gold if the turret does fall down in the first one on the map. But Abyssal Voyage this time from Chris. No denying that. His explosive cask again launched in. The arrow onto Jay. Kent wants to engage this, but body slam turn around Tian. Not in just yet, but Doinb comes on in. Blade of the Exile in full swing. The wind slash not available there, but they find themselves the jungler of Vici Gaming. FPX out for one.
Miscommunications coming out from Vici. Ike's goes in while everybody else is furiously trying to retreat. They tried to do it because they need to defend Puff. However, Puff was already out to safety and even had the ultimate just in case he absolutely needed it. So Vici Gaming putting themselves in dangerous way when they didn't need to. I
like that they're challenging the tempo of FPX. So that's the one thing that teams haven't been able to do. As Doinb, again, we speak of tempo, and here's Chelizi in the middle of two members. FPX don't need to take the fight, they just found first turret.
And it's just crazy how Doinb doesn't even take down his own turret before he starts roaming. He knows his pressure on the map, and it's almost better that he keeps his turret up than takes it down in the mid lane, because what it means is that this permanently locks Jay into staying here while he roams.
He's also going to let the turret probably get pushed on as well. Saw a quick backing there out of Tian instead of taking the mid lane engage. Vici Gaming actually have more turret plating. I mean, this is the first, considering FPX have been so dominant in these first 15 minutes towards the rest of the map. Vici Gaming at some point have just gone, we can match this.
It is, and it also highlights the different parts of the map that they're playing towards. The bottom side for Vici Gaming as opposed to the top side for FPX. The limited success that Doinb has found in the top lane, I'm not talking about the kills necessarily, but also just pushing Chelizi off his turret in order to take it down, has not really accumulated to more than what Vici has in terms of the turret plating alone. So once again, Vici Gaming, they're pushing the turrets and they're also playing the jungle, not necessarily the map.
Yeah, back to the blue buff it is then for Vici Gaming. The bottom lane just getting pushed out as well. Lane at a stale point here still for Vici. They're still 2k gold behind at 16 minutes in the game. Thank you, Jay. Pick it up, go back. Already had the Proto Belt. Let's see what comes up next, because the Sonya's Hourglass would be the idealistic choice.
It would, and it would also help into the Doinb matchup because it could definitely help him along the way.
Alright, so Orb's going to get picked up there first for the Silas in the mid lane, but next Dragon has just respawned. FPX already have a mountain. A double mountain is such a big achievement this early on. Also rolls the dice, as we like to say. But the fight brewing around it is big-footed Gragas, whatever happens with that new skin now, is looking to contest.
I like this if FPX can put pressure onto it, because they desperately need it. They don't have a lot of siege inside of their composition, and it's mainly re-engage. Once people run towards them and they try to escape, FPX can really take it back towards them. So if they are in a prime position, if they are the ones pushing ahead, they don't have a whole lot of tools in order to chip down these turrets, and two Mount Drakes would definitely help them.
Yeah, it definitely will, but they're not going for it just yet for Isha. I think Doinb just wants to start the fight with Puff and Southwind in the mid lane. Hard pushing, but easy to neglect and negotiate with the minions to go the other way. But here's the start from FPX.
And now Vici are captured.
And they're caught out in the middle of the position. Doinb locks on down. Remember that the key burst is going to be crucial here. Broken wings, wind slash. Doinb finds the first kill. The disengage now. But Jay in the middle of the fight, bopped on away with the poppy hammer. And Doinb is saved by the belly of Tian.
Could have been much worse for FPX if Jay wasn't actually bopped out, but 1-for-1 trade, not too bad. And Vici Gaming, once again, coming out with the advantage in the jungle. This is a new Vici that I definitely love watching, because now they know where their strengths are. They know that they can't necessarily play towards the mechanics, and they just go for the objectives.
You're just highlighting them though, Preacher. I'm not too sure, because Jay going in for the engage. Doinb locked on down with the Ignite and burnt down. What a turnaround from Vici Gaming's mid laner.
That was beautiful to watch, quite frankly speaking. Chris thought that he could actually defend Doinb, but because Doinb was chunked down earlier by Jay finishes him off in the mid lane, and Tahm Kench can't even help.
What a response from Vici Gaming. Bottom lane now drops as well. Only one outer turret remaining. Gold is even. This is the Vici Gaming that I got highlighted or hyped for before Chinese New Year. This is the Vici Gaming that took a game off of Zooning as Tian steals away the blue buff. Stop it. This is the Vici that I can get behind in summer. We'll take a look again how they started.
Tell the two stories. The Gragas had the Jarvan ultimate straight away to make sure that they can lock people down. But apart from that, it is also the re-engage coming out from Chelizi with his ultimate once he teleports in to really get the kill sorted.
Big moment for the Silas mid. Went back after the fight, picked himself up the Realnomicon, level 11. Means level 2 ultimate. He's level 12, of course. You know what I'm saying, folks. So, 2 items, 2nd level of ultimate. As Puff teleports mid, Vici Gaming holding strong to defending this mid lane turret.
And it's important that Puff used his TP mid because you know that he backed. Take a look at his items, but in the bottom lane,
that's a lot of AP damage. But that's the Sion ulti out for pretty much nothing from Tian. Could be the turret as well.
It could definitely be. What I was talking about earlier was the power spike that's now reached by Puff. He's got his Ginzu's Rage Blade and also the Storm Razor. That means that he's sitting on enough to upgrade his Q and his E. He's going to be ready for team fights.
Yeah, he definitely will be. I'm getting excited though for these team fights, speak of the devil. 2 items on practically a lot of the carries right now. Mid laners join. Puff has the Ginzu's Rage Blade. We'll see a Zeal item come out 3rd for sure. And the Ashe close to it as well. So we're getting to that territory here, especially for FPX. The Riven in a great place with that Death Dance. We'll see what happens because with the outer turrets gone, longer lanes now for Vici Gaming to try and find openings in.
And honestly, I just want to see creative uses out of the Tahm Kench ulti as well, because FPX, while they do have a Poppy in the front line, it's fairly difficult to engage with the Poppy unless you're wallbanging somebody. So the next best thing is to get him into position using crit.
I want to see the Silas versus Riven 1v1. Now, not so accustomed to it at the moment. Feel free if anyone wants to fill me in. The way I see it as well, though, I look at it and I go, if Abscond doesn't connect, Abduct, excuse me, doesn't connect, big window for Doinb to just skirt around and take it. Whether we actually see it this game, I don't know. We've gotten to the point where grouping is a necessity here at 21 minutes in the game. And with a much slower paced game, a Silas, a Kai'Sa, Sion front line, I like it from Vici Gaming.
It's going to be unlikely that we see the 2 mid laners in a 1v1 because neither of them have TP, so it's going to be fairly difficult for them to join team fights should they occur, especially seeing as Baron is up right now. So we should be looking towards the top lane. And we were highlighting GimGoon against Chelizi. That's going to be a matchup that we have to watch, especially with the Conqueror. But in the mid lane, I don't think they care too much about that because it's going to be 4 versus 4 grouping all around.
Yeah, Doinb just joins in from nowhere. Look at him. Just whops on over the wall. No mana, no worries. Setting up around the Baron side as well that has spawned a while ago. Infernal's coming up next though. So while the Baron is sitting there and waiting, you expect that the Infernal will be a big fight. Preacher, I asked for it.
Here it is.
I don't think Tian's going to give it to us though. Really good Abscond now into the Inductor. Silence, they collapse.
Oh boy.
Sion's ulti was perfect. GimGoon can't cancel that teleport, so he has to run away. Doinb on the backside here. He's already popped on into Blade of the Exile. Available, but not good for FPX. Is the ulti from Jay. Arrow, run!
Woo!
He evades it. Doinb survives, but now the Baron showdown has begun.
The skin of their teeth. FPX did not have enough vision to go for that pick. They didn't know where the members of Vici were, and Vici just collapsed onto them.
So hard because GimGoon has to go in first. Crystal Arrow uses time onto Jay. Locking down the mid lane and they find it. It's LWX with the kill. Again, GimGoon charging forward as Doinb.
There
wants
it
to
is.
get a key burst, but has to broken his wing out of there. Locked on down with Chelizi. The tongue lash forces the flash. Slowed again. Chelizi just wants to survive, but Doinb is flanking.
1v4?
Here we go. Broken wing 1, broken wing 2, and 3. Locked on down. He's out of there with a nice Valor. And FPX don't want to risk it. Instead, they just safe away from the Baron.
Smart plays coming out from FPX. Even though they lost the initial fight, which allowed Vici to start up the Baron,
no.
they managed to recover it. But, Jake, I don't even think this is over.
Big mistake here from Vici Gaming as they retreat and they have low health bars. They know that Baron's going down,
no,
but they do not remain for the pressure. Baron goes down, Ike's is out of position, Tongue Lash to slow down, and LWX killed number 2 with a Baron going to FPX.
Yeah, it's just unlucky. Vici Gaming take their minds off of the Baron. They say, we lost 1 member, and it's good that we can actually get out with the rest of our lives. This is the collapse that I was talking about. It looks good for FPX, but they don't go where the members of Vici Gaming are, and Vici Gaming have the inside track compared to the forepart of their team, so they get collapsed on Divide and Conquer. Doinb's off of one side, and GimGoon's off of the other. As soon as they get locked up, you know that this is going to happen, but this is a good dodge coming out from Doinb.
It really was. Look at the Valor. He's out. mixed with the Q. Doinb surviving, big key factor there in this very first game. But FPX have a 4K gold lead. They're right back on top. They picked up the Infernal in that replay as well. There's another one coming up.
This is looking really good for Vici Gaming, Hysterics. All of a sudden, they're playing up towards the competition. And they lost the Baron buff, sure, but they picked out the massive fight against FPX, divided and conquered. They're looking much more like a unit.
Excited to see that for Vici, it's still contestable. You know, in a game, in rather a split that I was very concerned about getting to this point. Like, okay, Vici, what really happened? They've still got the fire in them against FPX, and defending this mid lane turret, although doesn't seem realistic, still, they have to dodge the arrow. Okay, I'm still feeling confident.
This is just them playing turret defense until the Baron wears out. A big question that you have to ask Vici Gaming is Sion going to come online fast enough? Because he hasn't got enough resources dedicated to him. He's not even in a side lane right now, which is really punishing. He definitely needs to be in order to pick up the CS to get his tankiness for the middle of team fights. And once he gets in the middle of team fights, can he get his Q off onto the correct amount of members? Because there is a lot of mobility for FPX, and if you can get your way onto LWX, you can lock down one of the key damage dealers. I
imagine a lot of the time as well, that ult is going to be a very key part. Chelizi, that's how he started it before, is Doinb just launches on top of Jay. Let's go, Broken Wings again.
There is
one, we finally get it. Wind slash,
oh my
minion.
Woo!
Down you go, champion. How does dirt taste?
That's what you were looking for, Hysterics, and that is the 1v1 that we were talking about. Riven comes out ahead because you can't steal her ult. He doesn't do anything for Silas, and he just gets 100-0 without Riven taking any damage.
That 1v pick as well, although LWX is sent back in with the explosive cast. Broken Wings again from Doinb, launches his way out. 4 versus 5 with the Baron buff, and FPX waiting for that next wave to seal the deal on one of these inhibitors. 1 minute left. Just play the 1-4 and play it slow, because Doinb can push out top lane, and all of a sudden you have 1v3. But flash with Cocoon over the wall.
Wow.
Puff and Ike's goes golden. He thought it was him. FPX are styling over Vici at this point. And although, yes, we said we had hope, FPX want to put the nail in the coffin as GimGoon pop the hammer up. Keep his verdict, just to keep them silent. Inhibitor 1. Inhibitor 2 will follow soon, or maybe just a game preacher.
All of a sudden, there are tiered deaths for the side of Vici Gaming, and now they're being collapsed on.
Yeah, look, with a 3-man knockout there from Chelizi, it looks good, but not great. FPX, they look great, and at key moments in this game, they come up huge once again. It shows you that the road is still going, but it's almost at an end. In regular season, Game 1 obtained. Next, we need Game 2 to secure that first spot.
And I like how FPX did it, because Tian didn't necessarily focus down hard onto the mid lane. Instead, he focused onto GimGoon. He changed his win condition, and it still worked out for them just fine.
Really early gank pathing to be expected from Tian. Doinb made his way around as well. And the Riven mid, 100% win rate, 1 game. Top lane, we're not even counting it, I don't care. It's in a league of its own. Doinb has played 15 champions here in the LPL spring.
I'm willing to say that Doinb's in a league of his own. He is looking so beautiful with all of these champion pickups. He picks up the Riven just because he wants to counter the Silas. Doesn't even know where the Silas is going to go, whether it's mid or top, but he takes it for himself as soon as it's locked in. And you have to say that FPX looking so flexible with their core 5 members. What else can you say about this team other than they look good for playoffs?
The most damage on his team as well. FPX definitely look good for playoffs. Riven mid looked great. I mean, Jay found his way into the lane. Ike's was very proactive with his early ganking as well. I have to say that Vici Gaming, they did have an answer in that Game 1. Surprisingly enough, that's been part of their issue, that they just don't have an answer for what teams are doing.
And the early game was so beautiful. You watched the invades coming out. Of course, it's a standard Vici invade, but the fact that they went so aggressive, the fact that they found their way into it, and they also picked up the dragons for themselves as well. I like the objective focus coming out from this new Vici Gaming, because Ike's, I had criticism about him. He's not mechanically gifted enough so that he can actually influence the rest of his lanes to get ahead. So what does he do? He doesn't play towards the lanes, he plays towards the game.
It's hilarious when you get to the point where FPX, I think, are just playing, they're still playing well. You know, a couple of routine mistakes that I think in the last series as well, we said that's not categorical of Tian. But this series here, you're like, well, FPX, on the whole, played very, very well. And you're like, what did Vici Gaming do well? What excites us? But FPX are exciting as a mob. This is a team, as you said just moments ago, that are ready for playoffs. And you say, all right, what's the weak point of their map? That game, the bottom side, for sure.
Yep, there just wasn't any focus paid to it because even though we talk about the jungle and mid duo, when we talk about Doinb, he focused a lot onto the top side. He gave it all to GimGoon to make sure that GimGoon could take down his turret. Didn't focus anything into the bottom side, and LWS and Crisp, they sort of survived on their own, but they could have definitely tightened it up.
They definitely survived. The Ashtarm Kench, very safe lane. They made work of it as well, and it turned to bite back Vici Gaming. FPX are one game away from securing themselves first seed and going straight to the semi-finals. After this game, number 1, we now have to wait. That's what a break is. We'll see you in game 2.